Okay. B'chodesh hashlishi, b'tzeis b'nei Yisrael me'eretz Mitzrayim. The Parsha of Kabbalah Torah begins with these words. B'chodesh hashlishi, b'tzeis Yisrael me'eretz Mitzrayim. Why is it important? Why is it important? Mike, you can sit over here. Why is it important that the opening words are B'chodesh hashlishi? Was it 90 days? Absolutely not. They left in the middle of the month of Nisan. So you had about 15 days in Nisan. You have 30 days in Iyar. There's a total of 50 days. Tonight we just counted 40. There's 10 days left. So Besach HaKol, it's 15. So it's 51 days. 51 days isn't even 2 months. But yet, if you make a cheshbon, they started out in Chodesh Nisan. They went through the balance of Nisan, the entire year, and now by Chodesh Sivan, by Chodesh Hashlishi, B'tzeis Yisrael, the Torah makes a big deal about the fact that we're in the third month in Hilchos Chodashim. 50 days, but in the third month already. Zokt the Maharal, Medrash Ohr Zman va'etz l'chol chayfetz tachas hashamayim. Zman hoya l'adam harishon shenichnas Gan Eden. When the Eibishter put Adam in Gan Eden, there was a specific time that had to happen. Shenema vayinichu bagan. Zman hoya lo'lotzeis misham. Shenema vaygeshu megan Eden. There was a time meant to go in. There's a bashert time for in, bashert also to go out. Zman hoyelay l'noich love elateva shenemer bo elateva zman hoyel sheyotze misham shenemer tzeyato. Zman for Avram Avinu shey nimol va'atas brisi tishmar. Eibishter waited till he was 99 years old. It was specifically at that time, not a day earlier, not a day later. There was a time it had to happen. Zman hoyel lebanav shiyamaylu. When Klal Yisrael, Shmoynes Yomim, or by them, or in Yitzias Mitzrayim, b'shnei makoymes, achas b'Mitzrayim, achas b'Midbar, shenemer kimulim hoyo ha'am hayotzim. That's Zman. Ve'eis l'chol chayfetz, Zman hoyo shetinosen Torah Yisrael. It's a Zman that Klal Yisrael should be able to get the Torah. Meaning, the Maharal is an introduction to this parak. Parak Esrim v'Chamisha is telling us that the fact that the Torah opens up with the words B'chodesh hashlishi, hakavana hu higia zman. Higia zman. It's the third month. Right away, B'chodesh hashlishi b'tzeis Yisrael be'eretz Mitzrayim, when Klal Yisrael went out, Bayoim Hazel Bo Midbar Sinai, they came to Midbar Sinai, and the process already began. The Vayichen Sham Yisrael. Let's just pull out the pasuk for 1 minute. Here it is. B'chodesh hashlishi b'tzeis Yisrael Bayoim Hazel Bo Midbar Sinai, and Vayachnu Bamidbar Vayichen Sham Yisrael Neged Hahar. So they showed up. Ein lecha adam she'ein lo isha ve'ein lecha adam she'ein lo makom. They came to the makom by Chodesh hashlishi. And the Medrash Rabbi is telling us that das ist der richtige Platz und das ist der richtige Zman. This is the right time and this is the right place. What is so special about this Zman that the Torah Kedosha opens up with this, and the Maharal obviously is accentuating. What's the pshat? Flip over the page, please. He brings 2 pshatim. We're going to do the second one for tonight. Avo b'medrash amru in the end of the second column. V'zeh amru b'medrash b'chodesh hashlishi. Lama b'chodesh hashlishi in the third column. V'loi b'chodesh hasheni v'loi b'chodesh harevi. Amar Rev Hoshia Shonili Chia Hagodol Giyoyres V'shivcha Mishuchreres Lo Yinosu. They shouldn't get married. V'lo Yisarsu Ad Gimel Chadoshim. Kach Yisrael Nikra Geirim. Shenemer Ki Geirim Hayisa. Shvuyim. They were in captivity. Shenemar v'hoyu shovim l'shivayhem. Umeshuchrorim hoyu. Shenemar niyasham l'keich ma shetzais yeschem eretz Mitzrayim l'yeslechem miyoyslem avodim. Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu amtim lahem gimel chadoshim v'achekach etem atayla. Stig hert. We compare them to a shivcha that was in captivity, a goy who became a yid as a ger, just like a convert, or just like a shivcha. She can't get married to anybody until 3 months. What's the pashup shot? Why? In case she's pregnant, right? Maturnished, right? Whose kid is it?
That's a full on it is, though.
Isn't it? That's right. The Maharal is going to explain, even though he says, take a look later on, it says, Va'af al gav dehosam taima mishum havchona delay shayach lahocha. Where's that? I'm reading from below, right there, underline, Mekom Mokum. You see where it says Mekom Mokum in your underline, towards the bottom of the cup? Right before that, he says, Va'af, even though, Havchana do Shayach, but Mekom Mokum Yeshome ki yetzinu shizman gimel chadoshim mechulek la'atzmai umuteres lehinose ache gimel chadoshim. Says I'm going to explain the pshat. He says over here, B'mergetus oisreden. In order to enter into a different relationship, into a different kesher, it's not enough you going from one person to another person, like from one day to the next, because then you never left over the first person. Then you're coming off. It's a very dangerous place to be. You know what that means? You have to separate from the first one, and then you can go to the second one. That's the secret of 3, says the Maharal. Meaning, it's very pashut. 1 and 2 are connected. 1 to 2. 2 to 3 is connected. 1 to 3 is separate. I'll give you a dugma l'davar oichet Maharal. The Gemara in Brachas says, the Gemara, I think it's on Daf Vav or Daf Zayin. The Gemara says in the beginning of Masechtas Brachas, when a person davens la'olam, you have to go into the Bais Medrash, Bais HaKnesses, Shnei Psuchim. You have to go in 2 doorways. Some places have a vestibule, right? You go into one set of glass doors, then you're in the little vestibule, you're in that hallway, and then you go into the other. Most of them do it because of the cold, right? But the Gemara says you have to walk in. The guy's davening, you're going to daven, you have to walk in. Freak the Gemara. Shnei psochim? I can't have a show without shnei psochim. Zalgadaitach. Emford the Gemara Shir shnei psochim. Says the Maharal, listen to this gewaldige Wort. Zog the Maharal. A person comes to Beis HaKnesses, why? He wants to daven. He wants to connect himself to the Eibishter, correct? When you're walking into a shul, you walk into Beis HaKnesses, from the outside inside, how do I know you're not taking all the stuff from the outside inside? You probably are, especially if you didn't shut your phone off. And you take it with you, you're zikr taking it. The teretz is, listen to what Maharal says. The koidim called gate min harayin, you go in 2 doors, you go in the first there, right? You're in shnei psuchim. The first thing is you walk in and you're not inside, but you're not outside either. The middle area is I went in so that ich bin schon nicht in der Reusen, which means I'm not outside. I'm in the middle.
So you're in the parking lot.
The parking lot, Ellie.
It's trying to find.
No. In the parking lot, there's Zelbe Shtussim.
No, not over here.
I'm so happy.
Not over here. I'm somewhere over here.
When you walk in, the erste Sach is, ich bin nicht in der Reusen. I'm not outside. When you're not outside, now we can talk about, then after ich bin nicht dorten, now I'm here. You know what Psukkah de Zimra is, Rabbi Isai? You know what does Psukkah de Zimra mean? Well, Psukkah de Zimra, the Oilam thinks Psukkah de Zimra means a singing, because it's Zmiras. Psukkah de Zimra means pruning. the avoid of Zoymer. You know what you're doing, Psukkah de Zimra? You're cutting off down cup and your mind and your heart from everything else. And you should be able to get into the right place so that when it comes time to get to Shmoyne Esrei, you're able to stand in front of the Eibishter. But if you're not menatic yourself from the outside, you'll never be in front of him, because you'll be in front of him at Allah Zachan, that you'll take all your baggage with you. Says the Maharal, Pshat in the Gemara, that the Gemara says, Lo oilam al yispalel odom. A person shouldn't daven in a shul unless he goes shnei psachim. What's the pshat? The erste tier is, the first door is, I'm not outside, but I'm not inside yet. The avoida is, koidim kol, I'm not there. After I was menatic myself from there, now I can think about going in the next doorway. Now I can be here. If I'm not there, then I can be here. Says the Gemara, when a woman gets divorced, chutz from the fact that she might lahav chana. What happens if she's a 65-year-old widow, right? And she's not going to be able to have kids. She also has to wait 2 months. You can't go from one to the other. Medav koidim kol endikin with the first one. I finished with that one. Then I can start the next one. B'chodesh hashlishi, says the Maharal. B'chodesh hashlishi, the first words of the Maharal in the Parsha that discusses Kabbalah Torah. You want to be Mekabel the Torah? You have to be minatek. You have to pull out of where you were. No more slave mentality. No more shifcha. No more negativity. No more from Yena lifestyle. How is that supposed to happen? Well, you can't go in the next month and make it happen. Your first opportunity of being able to be minutak from Darton, says the Maharal, is that's the lumdis, that's the tifkeit of what shlishi means. Shlishi and Rishon have no connection. The two is connected to the one. The two is connected to the three, but the one and the three is an ugeshite. They're separated. The two is the in-between areas, the no man's land. The two is the area where in the two, they were in a month of Iyar in Gansen Ugeshite. And Gansen separate. Nissen, they left. Iyar, they were Nishtahin and Nishtaher. But that's what you need to be. Because if you want to go to something new, Daf Mendoch, you have to be Minatek, you have to separate yourself. When I said it as a joke, but I meant it not as a joke. If you want to know how taka to be able to be oimed lifnei Hashem, it's such an asoyin today because the people are so busy still connected to the outside world when they're sitting there by davening. Even if they're not looking at their phone, but as soon as it's on them, you haven't been able to get in front of the Eibishter. Why? Because you still have everything with shleptach tzedek, everything's pulling you back. The Eitzah Yechidi is don't keep it on you. If it's on you, you're business. You're not oimed lifnei Hashem. You're oimed darting with all your text messages and your emails and your WhatsApps and your this v'chulei v'chulei v'chulei. And that's exactly what the Eitzah wants. The koyach and the schus and the siyata deshmaya a person has by taking his phone and saying, I'm going to be menatic, it's an avoid, I'm putting this away. You don't just put it away. I'm menatic. That itself is walking through the first doors. That itself is walking through the doors. By being menatic yourself, this is not important now. What is important for me now is my relationship with the Eibishter. That itself becomes a schus and becomes a statement in a person being able to be miskasher to the Rebbeinu Shalom. When a girl is dating a boy, but she's still thinking about the other boy she went out with, she's not, that's called znus. Then she's with somebody else. She's not, she's with yenim. Of them state chodesh hashlishi. You have to separate yourself. If you don't separate yourself, you're not going to be with the Eibishter. And now he says one more point I want to focus on. Let's see the underlines. We'll go down to the underlines. Mekal mokan yesh loimer ki metzinu shezman gimel chadoshim hu mechulik la'atzmai. Once you're in zman sholish chadoshim, that's the concept that we're saying. When you're 3, b'chodesh hashlishi, B'yoyim hazeh, the erste Tug, she's already available. Now, you're right. 90 days you need to make sure that she doesn't have a baby from the first one. But the concept of 3 Chodoshim, that's the lumdus of the Maharal. The concept of Chodesh HaShlishi, right? The conceptual idea is, I am no longer attached to Yenim. Therefore, muteres inosel la'acher, gimel Chodoshim shoyse shivcha, because she's already mechulik from that point. Yiyata mashi, yiya soif, zman gimel chodosh mechulek atzmai. V'kemoish mechulek shloisha la'atzmai le'in avchana, kach Yisrael. Now look at this underline, Rabbi say. Zman shloisha chodoshim, zman mechulek la'atzmai, sheyiyu nichnosim l'rishus hashchina. You tell me what that means? Shenichnosim Rishus Hashchina. You know what that means? You're a person, Shnei Dvarim, 2 things make up ownership. When a person ganvez, Shneim ein yecholim lahaktish, zeh lefi she'eino shaloi, v'zeh lefi she'eino b'rishusoi. Chazal say, when a person steals, something is stolen, you steal something from somebody, this is yours, I steal it from you. I can't be makdish it because it's not mine. You can't be makdish because it's not in your possession. Klal Yisrael by Chodesh HaShlishi left Rishus Mitzrayim and were nichnas l'Rishus Shechina. Whenever you have Kol Be'asora, Shechinta Sharia, you are entering the Rishus of the Shechina. It says in Perkei Avos, Menayin Chamisha, Shechina Imoim, Shtayim, right? Even one person. You're not in this world through Torah and mitzvahs. Du bist schon in an andere Rishus. Du bist in Rishus HaShechina. Klal Yisrael are already shayich. Kol Yisrael yesh them chelek la'olam haba. Because for them, the Torah and the mitzvahs, HaKadosh Baruch Hu brought Shamayim, Vayered Hashem al Har Sinai, and brought Shamayim down here, so that when Klal Yisrael does Torah and mitzvahs, when we're mekabel the Torah, we're in a Rishus Acheres. What does Rishus Acheres mean? We're in a different domain. We said over B'Shem Reb Chaim Volozhiner. He writes in 2 places that when in the Hakdama to Ruach Chaim of Perkei Avos, and he writes in Nefesh HaChaim in the beginning in Perek in Shar Aleph, I think it's Perek Vav in the Hagah. He writes, when a person does a mitzvah, this is a shtickle Chabad, se kommt an or hamakif, an or that surrounds him. That or comes from Gan Eden. And b'shas asiyas ha-mitzvah, he's not in this world. You bist nicht in der Welt. The koyach, the reason why schar mitzvah b'hai al malek is because you're not even doing the mitzvah in this world. The tusnish the mitzvah though. You're in, and when you finish the mitzvah, that light and that mitzvah goes to Gan Eden and it's waiting for you. It's a gate shandarten, that's there already. You're in another rishus. You're in another rishus. You're not in this. And could you imagine if you bring your phone into such a rishus? So, 1 minute. It doesn't work. It's arbeit nicht. It doesn't work. So if we are to understand the mindset, that says the Maharal is the mindset of why the Torah Kedosha was saying B'chodesh HaShlishi. The Zoivi, the Medrash Tzedar Zman. I need the Iker Zman of Kabbalah HaTorah to get to Har Sinai is to separate ourselves from the place we're coming from in order to get to the place of Anaya Rishus. Zwei Sachen stehen. We learned 2 things tonight. Number 1, the requirement of pulling away the first set of doors, where we're pulling from, and where we're going to. The fact that we have to go to no man's land in the middle means to say, sometimes Eibishter does it for us. Sometimes we're too stuck in our old life, and the Eibishter decides, I'll do you a favor. I'll rip you out of it. He can do it for you too. And sometimes we're kicking and screaming, what are you doing to me? What are you taking away? The Berger says, what are you talking about? In the old life, you're gegangen. You're a goner. You need to be ripped out of your life. I need to put you in. I'll take you out. Where you could go kicking and screaming. He'll take you out. But it's mafsher. Now you're in no man's land. But the place you're going to is called Rishus Hashchina. Now you're going to a Naya Platz. It's the Geistana. Now you're in a whole new place. Mokum Chadash. It's a new place. Two things we learned tonight, Rabbi say. Chodesh Hashlishi teaches us, says the Maharal, Tzvei Zachen. Tzvei Zachen. I'm learning two things. I need to be minatek. I have to separate myself. That's Aleph. Because I can't go into a new shaykhs, a new relationship with the Eibishter, unless I separate myself. That's Aleph. Beis Umvugatman. And where are we going, Taka? We're going to Rishus Hashchina. We're going to a place where, in this place, it's Chaye Oilam Nota B'Seichenu. The Chaye Oilam is planted. You're not in a place of Oilam Hazeh. You're in a place of Chaye Oilam, Kol Yisrael, Yeshem Chelik Oilam Haba, Mamlechas Kohanim, Goy Kodesh. The Shechina is with you. You're in Rishus HaShechina. You're in Rishus HaShechina. You're way beyond the confines of this world. Du bist nicht in der Welt. You're not in this world. You're way above this world. I always said for a joke, I didn't forget you, Eli. Goyim, some people believe in Martians. You know who the real Martians are? Du weißt nicht, was das ist, Afila. Was ist ein Martian? Ja, Baruch Hashem. Besser, du weißt nicht. We're the Martians. We come from a different place. We're nicht scheich zu der Welt. Wir sind nicht scheich zu ihr. Das weißt du auch nicht. Es geht, Baruch. Ashrecha, du bist nicht gekommen von jener Welt. Ashrecha, du weißt nicht. The fact that our Iker Chiyus is not from this world. Our Iker Chiyus is from the world, is Olam HaEmes. Our Iker Chiyus is Olam Haba. That's our Iker Chiyus. So we're be'etzem, our existence is we come from Tachas Kisei HaKavod, and we're going to go to Olam Haba. We're here transient. We're here from we're going from one place. That's right. This is to be able to go from Darton and then to go to Olam Haba. Durach how? Go right. Olam Hazeh is Proister. So you should be able to go to Olam Haba. So when they say, we're these Martians, right? And they look for our horns underneath the, that's right. That's what they look. You know that, right? So Stavissen, Visa State, if they don't know, right? Mazle Yodeh. The Mazel Veist. We're Taka and we're proud of it. We're proud of it because there's nobody like the Yidden. Nobody like Klal Yisrael. The Klal Yisrael is Taka v'chaye oilam nota b'sachenu. Shechina beinenu. So mezoiche zayin. Be'ezus Hashem Yisbarach. This is the avoid of Kabbalah HaTorah. The 50 days of counting is letaher nafsheisenu v'ruchaisenu mikol sig upagam, to be metaris, like we say in the Rabbi Shalom, right? Miklipoisenu metumaseinu. That's the avodah. We separate from the things that we should be separate from, so that we can get lechodesh hashlishi, to be mischaber tachas kampei hashchina. Chananya ben Akash, I'm going to say the Kaddish. Chananya ben Akash, Ratza Kodesh Baruch Hu, Lezakis Es Yisrael, Leficha, Chebalim, Tarim Mitzvahs. Shenemar, Adonai Chafetz, L'matz,